Hi, everyone, and welcome to Navigating Leadership Realities. In this segment, it's in our inaugural statement, we're going to be talking about self-care and self-awareness, specifically for all of you leaders, managers, and professionals out there during this COVID-19 crisis. It's important to remember that as leaders, it's important to go slow in order to go fast. This is important. Because for all of us, we're going to need to spend some time in this space that we're in right now, and we don't want you to burn yourselves out during this situation that's taking place. So what we'll be doing during this segment is we'll be looking at what is self-care, what is self-awareness, why is that important, and how to go about doing that. Now, Jamie, you had a really great quote about the importance of being a leader and being able to put on your oxygen mask first. You know, what's important about doing that?
Yeah, well, I think about this concept of leadership from the inside out. It's hard for us to truly be there as a leader when we haven't had our own needs taken care of first. So like on an airplane, they suggest that we put on our own oxygen mask first if the need arises, so that we can be there and be present for the people we're supporting. So that's really what I was thinking about there. And, you know, there's different ways for us to put that oxygen mask on. And what's, you know, to put it another way, it's really difficult for us to be creative and resourceful if we aren't taking care of ourselves, aren't taking the time for ourselves to reflect and really thinking things through strategically. That really takes us to practice self-care. And how we do that, we're going to share that here shortly. There's 5 different ways. And the first way is to be authentic, open, and honest. And Colleen, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Thanks, Jamie. So when I hear that, you know, being authentic, open, and honest, it's about not only being authentic, open, and honest with those that we're interacting with, but with ourselves. You know, it's about acknowledging what we might be feeling, acknowledging what it is that we're going through, and you know, being honest with yourself about it. You know, like if you're feeling scared, name it. You know, and feel it and sit with that for a little bit, and then look at coming out of that. Jamie, what does that mean for you to be authentic, open, and honest?
Well, I love what you said about naming it, Colleen. When we can name something, all of a sudden something that's been kind of spinning around inside of us is now in front of us because we've been able to name it and be able to view it, right? I don't like the word labeling, but when we can name it, it kind of gives it a life of its own versus staying inside of us and spinning around and taking up an energy. When we can name it, like you said, we can then sit with it and say, it's okay to be feeling this. This is normal. And you know what? Probably my team members are feeling that way too. Mm-hmm. So that starts with us often in sharing, you know, appropriately what we're feeling so that other people on our team can do the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what, Jamie, it makes me think too, you know, I mean, this has been quite a disruption for a lot of people, right? So, you know, it's important to clarify, you know, also the new routines that we're being moved into. You know, what's your experience around those new routines?
Yeah, that's so important. I don't know about you, but when I started working from home, I was really feeling a bit lost until I found a routine. And this was, you know, 18 years ago. And what's important is when we're working from home, work can start taking over our personal aspects of our life because it's right there. Or the opposite, we can get distracted by other things going on. And I know, you know, it's quite a balancing act, especially when potentially, you know, couples are working together and are at home 24/7 together. working from home, trying to find the right space for themselves. They might have children at home as well now that aren't going to school. So it's important to really structure one's day and set expectations around who's going to be responsible for what. I know we could spend a whole day on this topic, so I just want to hit some high level things that are kind of happening right now that I'm noticing is that people also tend to be distracted by the news. It's pretty easy to stay busy 24/7 with the news. So again, boundarying your time and going, you know, where do I want to go as a source for my news around COVID-19 because I need to stay on top of it, and how do I just boundary my time around that? Right, so routines for our work life and for our personal life, and also expectations of everybody in the household. Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, absolutely. We're experiencing real life. And I mean, my phone rang, right? I should have unplugged it, right? But that's a good point. When you're on a Zoom call or a video call, unplug your other devices when you're doing that so you can give your full attention to whatever's going on, right?
I love that, yeah.
Hey, it's real life. This is real life, right? So, I mean, you know, both Jamie, both you and I are very fortunate in that we've worked remotely for, a number of years now. So for us, we've been able to manage those routines and get things set up. You know, when it comes to things you were talking about, you know, social media and the news and the information is out there. You know, I've said this for a long time. Media outlets, they want to sell press. They're going to hype things up a little bit. They're going to sensationalize them a little bit. So, you know, when you're looking at getting your news information, get it from a trusted source. You know, don't go with, you're getting a lot of mixed messages going on out there, right? And, you know, I'm confident that there will be an end that comes to this. What the new normal is going to look like, I don't know. But I know there will be a new normal out there for us. And, you know, there could be some exciting opportunities that happen. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think navigating leadership realities applies to not just now, but when we are through this particular experience that we're having globally right now. So I'm kind of curious to look at our next topic. And I mentioned it, just named it previously, which was setting expectations, and for home and for work. And I'm curious, like when you think about that, I mean, how do you see expectations being set in our new norm working remotely?
Well, you know, especially right now, people are still adjusting, right? We've been put into this situation where many people, in order to continue business, we're now doing it in a manner that most of us may never have expected. So it's going to take time to adjust to that. You know, in a sense, very much in a psychological way, because we're very routinized. We have comfort in our routines that we have, and we've had a change to that. So for people to remember to you know, have some flexibility and some adaptability around those routines, because they're going to take time to build. It's just like when you're starting a new job. You get used to what it's like in that space, of what it's like working with that company, what it's like working with the other individuals in that company. And in this sense, you're learning to work with your team members and other individuals in an organization from a remote distance, but not necessarily face-to-face contact, physical presence, but you still got that face-to-face contact. So it's just kind of going with the flow and leaning into it, so to speak, and experiencing it as it's happening. So don't be too hard on yourself that you didn't get everything accomplished because you're not working the way that you used to. You've got a new norm for your way of working. What are your thoughts around that, Jamie?
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of adaptation going on. There's a lot of change going on in organizations right now. Leaders are having to revisit their strategies, quotas, all those types of things, and then matching the workforce for what can be done right now. I think the expectations are really important, both at home and at work. So I'm sure you have this happening as well, you know, where clients are working from home and they have children and they might be in a really, you know, tight space. And so it's really important for the adults to kind of clarify what the structure is going to be and how they're going to co-parent, co-teach, you know, because their kids aren't in school right now, and figure out, you know, these new norms at home.
Mm-hmm.
And also then providing structure for their teams. Just because we're working from home doesn't mean we can't still have that structure of weekly meetings and, you know, one-on-one check-ins with people, and, you know, still having, whether it's a tracker or some way of tracking who's doing what and how that's fitting together with other people's responsibilities. Those are things that really help clarify expectations and also keep your team on a really positive focus. You know, if they start feeling stuck, that can impact their motivation and how they're feeling. And if they have something forward moving to continue to work on, it can really keep the engagement going.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and it came to mind when you were saying that, you know, about, you know, creating routines and setting expectations for everybody that's going to be in that environment, you know, and that makes, you know, think about focusing on, you know, what is it that you can control? Because there's going to be a lot of factors that come in over the next few weeks, months, things that we can't control. So, you know, don't let yourself get stressed around that or drive yourself, you know, to being overloaded because some things are just beyond your control. So just focus on those things that you can control when we talked about setting up a routine and being able to, you know, as you mentioned, a great point, you know, like putting up a task board or something along that line. And maybe you need to adjust the hours that you are going to be working for, you know, maybe you're not working from 9 to 5 because you're not in a space that's amiable to that. Maybe you're going to work for a few hours before the kids are up in the morning and you're going to spend a couple hours schooling them, you know, and then maybe you can work again for a couple more hours, right? You know, and think about scheduling your meetings and your together times with your virtual team around those sorts of situations. So that, you know, again, having that flexibility and adaptability. Jamie, you know, the one thing we can control is how we think and feel. So that's, you know, something that we could probably look at focusing on and working on over the next few weeks. Jamie, so when you think about control, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, it sounds like such a relief to me because, you know, we're trying to focus on things that we can't control. You know, there's a whole lot more of things that we don't have control over than what we do have control over. So if we can really focus on what's within our sphere of control, it just makes us feel, what's the word? Like, that, you know, when we focus on what we have control over, we feel in control. We're not feeling like we feel like we can be much more focused, help focus in our team, and we're not kind of like getting distracted by all this stuff over here that we can't control. Because if we go over there, that's just very demotivational if we're trying to change things that we can't change. And this brings me to this fifth point of ours about focusing on the positive. So like you said, we can control our thoughts and our feelings. You know, it's easier said than done sometimes, but it is possible. So if we can, for instance, focus on what it is that we can control, focus on what is possible, that can go a long ways towards feeling uplifted, resourceful, and creative, which is really critical right now. We are navigating new paths forward that we've never anticipated. And so we really need to be, feel really stable and solid in order to be able to focus our mind on being creative. One of my clients said in his weekly meeting this week with his global team that he said to them, you know, I mean, first of all, he shares how he's feeling. He normalizes that for them, that, you know, it's normal to feel, you know, a little confused and fearful right now. And to reach out to him and to focus on what they can that's positive. He said, like, for instance, go out on your deck or look out your window and notice there's no pollution. You know, where there's less pollution. Think about the time you have to really nurture your relationship with your family. And, you know, let's look at our forecasts and, you know, adapt them, adjust them. They're going to be different, and focus on, you know, in his case, he's in sales, focus on what we can do versus what we can't. So I think that focusing on what we can control and on the positive can be very powerful right now. How about you?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, those are fabulous points, Jamie. And one of the other things that I was thinking about with the opportunity, because I'm experiencing this myself, is building out my community. I mean, I've always done a lot of that in the past virtually, with connecting out with individuals, but even more so right now. I mean, I just made some new connections down in California and over in Oslo, and out in Victoria, right? So I mean, what a great opportunity to reach out to other individuals, and to be able to build connections and learn from other people and widen your community. I mean, I'm seeing so much more community growing at this point in time. And when you were talking about the creativity, I've never seen so much creativity with the things that people are putting on Snapchat, YouTube, the things, you know, when people are doing their balcony singing or exercises. I mean, it's fabulous. Look at the things that people are doing that may never have happened otherwise, and building community through doing that. So, you know, there are some positive things that are going on right now. And I believe that going forward, we will see, you know, we'll learn from this, and there'll be more positivity to even look forward to in the future.
Yes. And there are so many other things around self-care that we could be talking about. But we did promise to limit these video segments to a shorter period of time. So we're curious about, for those of you who are listening, you know, what are some of the self-care practices that you're involved with right now? And you'll be watching this on YouTube, so there's a comments section below. We'd love if you would share some of your self-care practices so other people can learn from you, and vice versa. We also want to encourage you to take one of our tips today and experiment with it. You know, change is made one step at a time. So we, instead of doing all of these things all at one time, we encourage you to try one thing and see how it goes. We also want you to stay tuned for our upcoming video segments. We'll be putting out approximately one a week, and they'll be on our YouTube channel. And also, if you haven't heard of it before, we have weekly 30-minute open forum dialogues via Zoom webinar. So they're at 12:30 till 1 o'clock Wednesdays, Mountain Time. And if you'd like to join in those open forums, what we do is with the leaders that participate, we just start out by asking, what challenges are you facing right now in navigating this reality with COVID-19 as a leader? And then we'll, you know, have conversations about what are ideas, solutions, and new opportunities based on those challenges. And we really learn through our collective intelligence. So if you're interested in joining in on those, please email us at navleadership.realities@gmail.com. And I think that's it. Is there anything I missed there, Colleen?
No, I think you covered it brilliantly. Thanks, Jamie.
Okay, thank you. And we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.